Ran well.
He did run well. I do think overall, obviously with Red Shuttle being withdrawn, it was probably just a run-of-the-mill 56 to 75 handicap runner and even enough tempo. But I do think the winner's fairly unexposed on turf. Clearly goes on rattling quick ground, and hopefully now we're in for a bit of a better spell with the ground. So there's very little reason to believe why he shouldn't remain competitive for the time being. Obviously, he'll still be able to go into probably not the 80s once reassessed. And there was definitely hope for Spider, who he run well in his first run from November. He did look fit in the paddock beforehand, but obviously should clearly benefit. Larkrise Star, the mare, she was always well positioned throughout. She's never been the easiest to win with, but this was a good solid run, and she deserves to go on better.
Yeah, right in her slipstream there is the eventual winner, Sammy Alexander, who was put to sleep by Buick at the back, and all he wanted to do with his horse for much of the race was just get cover and get cover and get more cover. Yeah,
exactly. And just when he was pulled out, his head carriage just momentarily, I thought, are you going to go through this? But in fairness to him, he did. And he looks a laid-back character, and it wasn't ideal the way the race with only 7 runners in the end for him, but he did get plenty of cover. It's just here he pulls him out. Just thought for a second, are you going to go actually go through with your run? But to his credit, he did.
I think William was hoping for a little while there, now that a split would appear and he could have just glided through between horses. As it turned out, he waited long enough, and in the end he's had to challenge a little bit wider. But this horse has responded, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's dug deep, climbing up the hill towards the line from second, Darkrise Star, Nia third, Effigy back and forth, never really struggled to land the blow. He's now 3 from 53, is lower than 4 pound lower than his last winning mark, but probably just needs to come down a few more pounds. The one who look, without getting carried away, Spider has run well. He's shown up, but ultimately he's been well beaten, so he's going to drop down. This was a mark of 72. He'll get down into an 0 to 70 probably next time. He's definitely worth maybe keeping the right side of.
Yeah. Left to shot then is William Buick. 3 on the night for the jockey from 4 races. Let's get the SPs.
Yes, indeed. This horse back on decent ground. I think that was the key to him winning. Didn't like the soft ground he encountered last time up in a slowly run race. Sammy Alexander 11 to 4. Reformed market just before the off. So he's been returned at 11 to 4. 92 Larkrise Star. Knave was sent off the 7 to 4 favourite. And if you took a board price prior to 12 minutes past 7, there is a rule 4. Deduct 25 pence in the pound. Time is over 5 seconds slower than standard. Just looking at those times, it looks as if we're dealing with good ground at Newmarket tonight. Now, Haydock Park. We're going to have an odds-on favourite here. This is a novice stakes, 7 furlongs, 4 runners. AR, the absentee. Mick Shannon's intended is out. And Professor is 8 to 11 for Richard Hughes and Richard Hannon. Quite impressive when he won here on debut. Tickle Time 11 to 4. 11 to 2 Tuari, and Miss You 2 is a 12 to 1 shot. I think this horse does deserve to be odds on. He produced quite a big speed figure, a good time when he won on debut. He's been given some time to get over that, 3 weeks off the track, and one would think this is the main reason Richard Hughes has come to Haydock this evening to ride this horse for Richard Hannon. And Professor, he was in winning in a good time. He was impressive as well, and the bear form is working out pretty well. The horse he beat in second place was a stable companion called Great Run, who then went to Linkfield under Ryan Moore and won a maiden there by 3 lengths. So that really did frank the form in no uncertain terms. The horse that finished third has since finished runner-up in a maiden at Leicester. So the form's looking good, the time was good, and the Professor could have won more easily than he did. He was pretty impressive. He won quite nicely, and as long as he hasn't regressed from that to big first effort, then he's going to take some beating here. Of the others, well, as far as the market's concerned, Tickle Time is second best. David Barron had a double this afternoon at Musselburgh, so he looks to get his third one for the day. Graham Gibbons on board this one. He was on board one of the winners at Musselburgh. This horse won his maiden at Ayr, then he was second at Doncaster last time over 6 furlongs. That was in quite a good time behind Unsinkable as well, and he was only just edged out of it by the Richard Fahey trained Unsinkable in the closing stages, and he does look like sternish opposition for Professor. It's much sterner opposition than he faced on debut, and Tickle Time is sure to run an OK race. He is a KLF, so the same Same warnings, I think, go out about him as did for Sedgelat in the 6.55. Tawari, an interesting newcomer for Roger Varian, has already got a winner on the card with Ribart, of course. And Tawari cost $200,000 as a yearling. That's Tickle Time trying to go forward. I'm sure Stuart's just had a quick look at these. Professor is a good-looking sort, Stuart. I saw him when he won at Haydock last time, and he deserves to be odds-on, but Tickle Time's no mug on form.
No, so it's a fairly decent standard, Tickle Time. He's the one who's about to go forward. I agree with you, Angus, about Professor. He probably is just about the best looker in the field. He doesn't hold any fancy entries at this stage, with Miss U2 and Tawari with group race entries currently, and Tawari is the last one to go in. So all set now for this BSS Chris Fale Memorial Novice Stakes. And they're off, and the 4 jump from the stalls with the debutant Tawari the slowest to come from them. He gave the rest a couple of lengths start. Professor, the odds-on favourite in the hands of Richard Hughes, was away very alertly and leads into the turn. From Tickle Time, Miss U2 the filly in third, and Tawari green and little taken off his feet early. The pace by no means strong, but Tawari ridden to get in touch last of the quartet. Crown of the Bend and a couple of furlongs completed, and Professor racing just a little a choke out. Hughes with a tight hold of his head. Tickle Time now upsides. Miss U2 snapping on their heels in third, and Tawari now racing in close touch at last of the 4-strong field. Inside the half mile, down to the halfway point. Tickle Time just poking his nose ahead of Professor. Miss U2 still trapped on heels, needs a bit of daylight in behind, hemmed in by Tawari, who's a couple of lengths off the lead. Past the 3 they come. Tickle Time and Professor matching strides. Tawari just a length down still. Miss U2 all dressed up with nowhere to go against the fence. Running to the 2 pole, Professor. Hughes beginning to crouch low. Tickle Time proving a hard horse to get past. Tawari out wide, joining in, only a half length down. Sprinting now for the last furlong. Hughes shakes up Professor. Tickle Time won't lie down. Tawari given a reminder. Professor asked to stretch. Tickle Time battling on grimly in the centre. Then Tawari. Miss U2 is trying to burrow up between horses. No room at the end. Tickle Time, Professor. Miss U2 gets the gap late. Here's the line. Tickle Time in a rather muddling affair. Miss U2 had no luck in running. Tawari down the outside, and Professor was inched out of it close home.
Yeah, quite messy stuff, wasn't it? Tickle Time's won, however, for Davy Barron and Graham Gibbonson. Across the card, treble for them today. Good form they're in. And, Tickle Time has just headed Miss U2. I think we're going to freeze it on the line for you. Got a bit of a strange angle this time. Don't know why, but it's Tawari and Miss U2 fighting out second and third, with Professor only fourth. But Tickle Time called the winner. Photo second. There is Tickle Time galloping back, or cantering back rather, and he's won again. He's 2 from 3 now, this David Barron trained gelding. It's a muddly sort of affair. Richard Hughes went to go on Professor, and then the horse got keen under him a little bit and possibly paid for that little bit of keenness mid-race. Got into a head-to-head with Tickle Time. Tickle Time just too good for him. Miss U2 nowhere to go in behind for Sam Hitchcock, wearing the hood for the first time. Eventually gets out. And Tawari's run a really promising race. This horse missed the break, was slowly into stride. There you go, very slow out of the stalls, Tawari. Got involved, then travelled well and finished his race off okay. So all a little bit muddling. I think the Hannon team will be disappointed with Professor. He's travelling well at this stage. In a moment, Richard Hughes will just take a pull on him and just try and sort of steady things down in front, and the horse gets keen underneath him a bit. And he's just, as Stuart said in commentary, going choke out a bit now around the bend. And that ultimately has done him no favours. Tawari still trying to make up ground, having missed the break. A bit green in behind. Miss U2 pulling hard in behind. I'm not sure they went that fast. Tawari in touch now. Just edging ahead, Tickle Time. And he stays in front now. Professor does threaten to get back in it. Looked like Richard Hughes still had a bit left, going down to 1.5 down. Just here, Hughes I think was going better on the Professor than Tickle Time, but horse doesn't find as much as Tickle Time and really digs deep. Miss U2 is going to remain boxed into the last 20-30 yards. Hannigan coming on Tawari, who's run really well. They've got quite close, and an inquiry has been called, a steward's inquiry. We'll have a look at the head-on, hopefully. It's Tickle time, who now gets the better of Professor. Miss You Too gets a run.